Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I will say very little because I want you to hear as much of Scott as humanly possible. What I can say is one of the finest singers and guitarists and instrumentalists that I know, and his Robert Johnson information is just bar none the best in the world. Unfortunately, the book's out of print, isn't it?
It's on Amazon.
Yes. Anyway, so I'm just going to turn it right over to Scott. Welcome to Old Songs, and here's Scott.
So I'll introduce some members of the band. This is a 1931 national guitar that came out of a pawn shop in the middle of the first Gulf War in 1991 on Broadway in Columbus, Georgia. And the word on the street was they wanted $2,000 for the guitar. And I didn't have $2,000. I had young kids. This was 1991. This is a long time ago. And I don't think I have $2,000 now for guitars. But anyway, it didn't have strings on it. Anyway, it turns out the guy who did the deal on the guitar said, when I said, how much you want for this? He said, well, we got a lot of money in that guitar. I said, yeah. How long's it been here? Well, people have come from Memphis, Tennessee, and New Orleans just to look at this guitar. I said, are you charging admission? What? You know, there's a pawn shop. It's been here 2 years. 2 years? Give me a good price. And he said, well, $700. And I'm going to spend time and help for this, but I asked him if he'd take 6. You can't pay full price in a pawn shop. He robbed the guy he took it from, you know. But it's a great guitar. Then I put $1,500 in it, and have done it again one more time since. If you're not familiar with these, there's an aluminum speaker under here that amplifies the sound. So it's much louder than a wooden guitar and very brassy, very high-end like. And if you strum it, it sounds terrible. But when you fingerpick it, it's pretty cool. The town from door to door, woman I crave, I can't find no more. I got to find my baby. I declare I wouldn't lie. Ain't had no real good loving since that gal said goodbye. When the sun starts reaching, I grab my hat and coat, 'cause that cocaine and reefer won't grease my case no more. I got to find my baby. I declare I wouldn't lie. Since that gal said goodbye. Since she said goodbye. Last thing I ever will do in my life, I'm gonna find that long-haired, brown-haired Lord and make her my wife. I got to find my baby. I declare I wouldn't lie. Wouldn't lie. Ain't had no real Yeah. It's so nice to have human beings in front of me instead of just a computer screen. It's just absolutely delightful. Lord have mercy. Yeah. We've all been kind of jonesing for this, and I'm happy that we can do this a little bit now and that nobody's getting killed, which is great. If you hit this guitar hard, you get a little distortion. But if you underplay it a little bit, you get this. This was Malcolm X's favorite song. When Malcolm X was a hustler in New York, before he took X as a last name when he was Malcolm Little, street hustler in New York, his side gig was selling reefer to jazz musicians. It's kind of a niche market. And whenever he walked into the club, everybody happy to see him. And he said to Alex Haley's first big book was the autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. And he said, whenever Billie Holiday saw me come into a club, she'd always put this song in her sets because she knew that this was my favorite song. So before he was Malcolm X, before he left the Nation of Islam and toured, went to the Hajj and Mecca and knelt and prayed and ate and slept among people of all colors, but one faith. He came back to America with the idea that it's not the color of your skin, but what you believe that will unite you or divide you from the people around you. And 6 weeks later, for that idea, he was dead. Before all that, somehow this song rang his bell. Don Ray and Jean DePaul. You don't know what love is until you've learned the meaning of the blues. Until you love to love, you had to lose. You don't know what love is. You don't know how lips burn until you've kissed and had to pay the cost. Until you flipped your heart and you have lost. You don't know what love is. Do you know how a lost heart fears the thought of reminiscing and lips that taste of tears lose their taste for kissing? You don't know how hearts ache for love that cannot live, yet never dies. Until you faced each dawn with sleepless eyes, you don't know what love is. You don't know what love is. Thank Man. So this is a Froggy Bottom guitar that I had the great honor of building with Michael Millard, who's the luthier at Froggy Bottom. And we've been friends for 20 years, and for 15 of those, he said, you know, we should build a guitar together someday. I said, Michael, I'm a bad house carpenter. You don't want me anywhere near these things. Oh, it's precise, you know, like, huh. He said, no, we could do it. We should do it. And he built a guitar very much like this one for David Surratt, a dear friend of ours who came down with cancer and is now gone. But in that, between diagnosis and him passing away, they needed money. And so Michael ran out the shop and built a guitar like this to raffle off for David. And I played it on the video to kind of profile it for people. We raised over $30,000 to get his family through that year, and they needed every penny of it. And somebody walked away with that guitar for like $100. I mean, it was like crazy. But I said to Michael, I said, you know, if I was going to build a guitar with you, I know which one I would build. And he said, first time I'd risen to the bait, right? And he looked at me like a 9-year-old on Christmas morning. Which one? I said, well, that guitar you built for David, I love that guitar. He says, oh, we can do that. And then he ran out to the shop and started picking out wood. This is the wood he gave me. Yeah, ooh is right. It was terrifying. One slip of the chisel and I would be making a ukulele, or maybe just kindling, you know. I mean, I was terrified. But this guitar is proof that Michael Millard could teach a chimpanzee to build a world-class instrument, and he did, at least once. So. J.B. Lenore, 1966. Far backs I can remember, either had to plow one of those long old 9-foot sacks standing at the old turn road down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi where I was born, down in Mississippi where I come from. They had a hunting season on a rabbit. If you shoot him, you go to jail. Season was always open on me. Nobody needed no bail. Down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi where I was born, down in Mississippi where I come from. Down in Mississippi. Got against Mississippi, also was the home of my wife, but I count myself a lucky man just to get away with my life. Down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi where I was born, down in Mississippi I come from. Down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi. I learned to play in Sioux tuning not from John Fahey, who I should have learned to play from, but from a guy named Emmett Murray, who was a Florida bluesman and songwriter, a singer, was recorded on the shores of Lake Okeechobee in 1980 when he was an old man. He had gone into the turpentine camps in South Central Florida and South Georgia during the Depression when he was a teenager. And they promised you like $1.10 a day to go out and strip pine bark and render it into turpentine until all the barrels were full. And you were held there under the guns of white overseers doing this, even though it was the 1920s and 30s. And you couldn't leave. And you slept in their tents, on their cots, ate their bad food, and you made all this turpentine. And when all these barrels were full, then they'd truck you back into town, and you were supposed to get paid for 6 or 8 weeks of labor. The problem with this is that they never paid wages. They withheld all of your pay, generally, for room and board. Their tent, their cot, their food. So they went up with all the turpentine. You got nothing and no recourse either. So nobody did this twice, but Emmett Murray did it once. And he came out of these camps with this song, which is as much about sharecropping as it is about the turpentine camps, but it's an amazing document and a kind of a ground eye look at what this would have been like to be trapped in this situation, right? Where you're going to be separated from the fruits of your labor conclusively and completely, and lose 2 months of your life and have nothing to show for it, and nothing to be done about it except grumble and try and not get caught doing that again. This is called You Better Lie Down. To stop waking me up at 4 o'clock. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Go down late, but you get up soon. Ain't seen nothing but the stars and the moon. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Look mighty cloudy, but it ain't gonna rain. Look on the table, it's the same old thing. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. If I'd have known my captain was mean, I never would have left St. Augustine. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Might be crazy, but I ain't no fool. I'm going back to Florida where I don't have to plow no mules. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Better lie down. Cup of coffee and a little streak of lean. strong cup of coffee and ain't no sugar been seen. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Lay down late, but you get up soon. Ain't seen nothing but the stars and the moon. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Captain got away, he got to stop, waking me up at 4 o'clock. All of you old long time rounders, you better lie down. Better lie down. I had the great good fortune to hang out with a bunch of old black people in North Carolina and Virginia and South Carolina in the Mid-South when I was younger. They were all really fine players and none of them famous. None of them even had gigs. They just played. And as I found them, one by one, I always asked them, what was your first instrument? My first instrument was piano. And then I played flute in the elementary band, and then I heard John Jackson, great East Coast guitar player and singer out of Washington, D.C. I lived in Alexandria. I heard John play a couple songs. Like, whoa, I'm a guitar player. Who knew? And so I asked, I thought they might have played a fiddle, a banjo, a mandolin, a harmonica, a little twanger, one of those little. And 9 out of 10 of them said they played a cigar box guitar. Now, you know how when you say something to a dog and he doesn't understand you, he goes like this? Well, that was me all over. I mean, it's like, what? It's like one string. The wire off the bottom of a broom was the best string on the farm, so that was what they used. My friend Willie Malloy, born in 1900, I met him in 1988. Willie said when he was about 4, he tore up his mother's store-bought broom to get the wire off of it while she was out working in the field, and took the broom handle and made the neck and rammed it through a little cheese box or something and rigged it up. And she came home from the fields and he's out in the backyard wanging away on this thing, and she sees a pile of brooms strung in the front yard, grabs a piece of kindling and comes around the corner of the house looking for him. She said, you tore up my store-bought broom? Even at 88, this is how Willie said, yes, Mama, yes, Mama. He said, well, I had to pay good money for that broom. And I ain't going to beat you on those pants. I had to make good money for them too. Get those out of my way. So the first time he played it, it really hurt a lot. But she only beat him once, and then he still had the thing. So it was like skin in the game. He thought he was ahead. But I wouldn't tell you this if I hadn't. I heard these stories for almost 8 years before I finally thought there's got to be something to this I don't understand. Because the thought of playing a one-string instrument with a slide and nothing else, having been raised on guitars and other instruments, it just seemed like a sentence of death, And if you played it for more than 5 or 10 minutes, it was like a sign of a low musical intelligence or a high capacity for boredom. And I couldn't figure out which. And so I'm wrestling with this, and I found out you got to go downstairs and make one. I'd never seen one. And the first one I built entirely wrong. It worked, but it was really awkward. So I had to make Mach 2. Played that for years. Somebody dropped sound equipment on it, not me. And so then there was Mark 3, and this is Mach 4. This is the only one I've ever had that's actually made out of a cigar box. Cigars are bad for you. This public service announcement. You have to know they're bad. But cigar boxes are good, and you can put stuff in here and carry things around. And the stick goes all the way through it, just like what they call a stick lute or a banjo in Africa. And they only have one string, and so there's a limited number of things that one can do with them. And you play them with a slide, which I happen to have with me. So what you do is you set up a rhythm and a drone. Everybody does this. And I do this. I play it with both hands. 2 complementary rhythms. So we get 1, 2. I could do that all day, man. That is a groove. That is there, you know. And then you just add a little bit of slide playing and try and get away with murder, which is what musically, which is what I'm about to do. Judge, give me light this morning down on Parchman Farm. Judge, give me light this morning down on Parchman Farm. I wouldn't hate it so bad, but I miss my wife and my home. Well, goodbye, wife, for you have done gone. Well, goodbye, wife, for you have done gone. And I hope someday you will hear my lonesome song. My lonesome song, play one. Go to work in the morning, just at the dawn of day. We go to work in the morning, just at the dawn of day. And at the setting of the sun, that is when we're walking home. Well, listen, you man, I don't mean no harm. Well, listen, you man, I don't mean no harm. If you wanna do good, you better stay off old Parchman Farm. Just give me life this morning down on Parchman Farm. He give me life this morning down on Parchman Farm. I wouldn't hate it so bad, but I miss my wife and my home. Miss my wife and my home. Yeah. Like that. We should have one of these. I mean, everybody should have one of these. These go by a lot of names across the Black South. They're called jitterbugs in Mississippi, probably named after the dance, not the other way around. You know, and a pictar, a guitar pictar, just to differentiate it. A one string, and in the Carolinas they're called cigar box guitars or one strings, just generic sort of names. In Georgia they go for a very special name. They're called diddly bows. It's fun to say. Say diddly bow. It's like having a carbonated drink in your mouth. It's just so fun. This is diddly bow. It's great. But you turn those two words around, you get Bo Diddley, who took his rock and roll stage name and the shape of his custom-made electric guitar and the rhythms he played directly off instruments like this that were played for hundreds of years in the black community and danced to before guitars came around, right? Bo Diddley, where you been? Round the corner and back again. Yeah, and a rattlesnake for a necktie. Rock and roll starts right here. Thank you. That's it. Blues, of course, are European chords and instruments generally, and an African scale. The melodies are African. And all the old spirituals are built the same way. They're built in this minor pentatonic scale, which sounds like this. Now, 4 of those notes are on open strings on this instrument when it's tuned like this. And I learned this tuning from Sherman Hammonds, who was born in the 1890s in the high country in West Virginia, about 70 miles west of Stanton, Virginia, if you know that part, up on the salt, the sandstone plateau that caps the limestone in that part of West Virginia. It's the only place where you'll see a stream go more than a mile or two before it disappears underground, because the sandstone is protecting the limestone underneath it. And that's where Sherman lived and grew up. And he played in this tuning, which is pretty strange for a banjo tuning. Of course, banjos are tuning in banjos. It's a relative thing. And if you ever really got a banjo completely in tune, of course, it would sound like a guitar. So this is a dried gourd with a skin glued onto it, a skin head, an African way of making strings louder, and a fretless cherry neck that my friend David Beatty made for me, a Florida instrument builder and player. And this is the tune Sherman taught me. This minor pentatonic tuning is really a tuning for making playing African melodies easy. And that's a very bluesy old-time song. You know, the theme is like that. It's like the melody's there. It's like very bluesy thing. So I went back into the catalog of ancient spirituals and pulled one that has a metaphor from the Old Testament. And you hear this all over the South in people of a certain age. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning. How many of you had a kerosene lamp in the house? Right. Man, if you don't keep that wick trimmed, it'll smoke you out of the place. The chimney turned black, ceiling turned black, drive the people out of the house. You have to trim the wick and keep the flame clean and bright. And that's what this song's about. I also happen to love this because it's an anti-evangelical Christian song. Ain't gonna tell nobody what the Lord has done for me. I love that. Man, I want more of that in my life. So here it is. Your lamp, trimmed and burning, your lamp. See what the Lord has done. tell, nobody gonna tell, nobody gonna tell what the Lord has done for me. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning, your lamp. See what the Lord has done. Sister, don't you get worried, you don't get worried, you don't. See what the Lord has done. Keep your lamp, your lamp, your lamp. See what the Lord has done. Your lamp trimmed and burning, your lamp. See what the Lord has done. Keep your lamp, your lamp, your lamp. See what the Lord has done. A couple years back, I got into listening to field recordings of Central and West African guitarists recorded in the 1950s. And the guitar was a relatively new instrument in Africa at that time. And I thought it was the coolest stuff going. They were playing the same chords we play in standard tuning. It took me a long time to figure that out because it sounded so different. But the rhythms are entirely African, and I thought, I do programs in the schools on the African roots of American music and teaching concerts, and I'm headed to North Carolina to do that tomorrow, actually. I'll be doing shows in Albemarle, North Carolina on Tuesday and Wednesday in the Haas schools there. So I wanted a little more Africa in my right hand. And I'm listening to these basically $2 homemade African guitars strung with fishing line and no sustain, out of tune, just like whoo. But the rhythm was so compelling. I just was playing along. I figured out where they were. They're usually got a capo on the guitar and they're playing C figures generally. Not true everywhere, but it's often true. And I thought, this just doesn't sound like an African guitar. I mean, it's a vintage national with all this sustain, right? So that's what I was learning to play. But in order to get this to sound like a $2 African guitar, instead of a vintage national, I'm gonna put a rolled up napkin under the strings to kill all this, amazing volume and sustain. And what it does is it throws the rhythms up into your face. All that sustain gets in the way, really. Thunder's Mouth. I wrote this originally as a slow D minor sad song. The words were sad. It was in a minor key, and I was singularly uninterested in it when it was done. But it turns out I rewrote it to this groove and this style. And in West Africa, even the sad songs sound like this. I'll take it if my stuff will fit, or maybe I'll just get rid of it. I need a place to call home, a little place of my own. Get over this, can't make the pieces fit. window, I see it's just a game. All the kids out playing stickball in the rain, and no one keeping score. Who could ask for more? I should get over this. Can't make the pieces fit. I should get over this. Give me a minute, give me an hour, maybe a lifetime. Give me a minute, give me an hour, maybe a lifetime, and I'll have the power. I should get over this. Can't make the pieces fit. I should get over this. I should get over this. Can't make the pieces fit. I should get over this. It's no use, the gods don't listen to me. We all break the rules, it's just a matter of degree. I want you back again. Your name is written on my skin. I should get over this. Can't make the pieces fit. I should get over this. Thank you. Don't try this at home. I've just put this guitar up into A tuning. Again, you do this on a wooden guitar, you'll pull the front off it. But this guitar can take it. It just needs a minute to get used to the idea. And I'll take that minute to play you another song. I wrote this around 2008 or 9, having heard the story of Gracia Cruz, who was lost in the Sonoran Desert on the Tohono O'odham Reservation, traveling with the human smugglers, the coyotes, they called them then. Now they call them the pollos, the little chickens, because the coyotes stay on the other side of the border. Now they send the little chickens out. But the coyotes would tell you back then that Tucson was like 5-mile walk, when Tucson's 75. So instead of one bad night in the most dangerous stretch of the southern desert and border, where you're likely to die for crossing the border without papers, making it essentially a death penalty for any in the country without a piece of paper that says you can. That seems extreme to me. But Gracia crossed with her husband and her uncle, and she couldn't keep up with the group, and the coyotes abandoned them and left them in a trackless desert. And it takes 2 gallons of water. This was in early June in 2007. It takes 2 gallons of water a day per person to survive in that desert. And it's a 7-day walk to Tucson, and nobody's carrying 14 gallons of anything. People are sometimes crossing with a half gallon of Coke, thinking they're going to walk the night. So your life's at risk the minute you cross the border of dying of exposure. And this is Gracia's story. I heard this on NPR and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I went chasing it. And then I wrote the song, and then I took it to Latino friends, dear musicians who I love, and respect. And when you're telling somebody else's story, you gotta check it out with them, with some member of that community, because we all have biases that we don't know. They're called unconscious biases, which means we don't know. So you have to go to the authorities and ask. And I went to Jose Cuellar and Tomas Montoya, dear friends who play. And I sat them down at a music festival in the shade of a tree, and I said, I've kind of written a song in your voice, and I need to know if it's okay. If it's not okay, we'll fix it or we'll throw it away. But would you listen? I said, sure. And I didn't do it with them together because I wanted them each to come to their own decision about it and not like look at each other and go, yeah, it's okay. I wanted to be able to turn to me and say, no, it sucks. And they're both on the track. It's been released on YouTube. It took a long time to get us all in the same studio together, but Jose and Tomas are there, and I wouldn't have cut it without them. It's not on a CD yet, but you can hear it on YouTube. It's called The Land That I Love. I go to the market in the town I was born. It's full of cheap clothes from China and American corn. But we have a small farm that we water with tears. How can we compete? The gringo farms are so big, now we cannot stay here. And why would I leave the land that I love? Consuela, Rosalita, Mama, Papa. My grandfather's bones are up on the hill. If it weren't for the wages, I'd be living there still. So we pay the coyote. We rode in the van. We walked in the desert, lost in this land. Her feet were so blistered that she could not go on. When I left her, I kissed her. When I came back, she was gone. And why did we leave the land that we love? Consuela, Rosalita, Mama, Papa. My grandfather's bones are up on the hill. If it weren't for the wages, I'd be living there still. Who cares if your markets are free? Look what you've done to my wife and me. Who cares if your markets are free? Jesus was a poor man who suffered and died. A crown of thorns, spear in his side. He said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. But I'm sorry, my friends, when we come to the end, how can we say that of you? And why would we leave the land that we love? Consuela, Rosalita, Mama y Papa. My grandfather's bones are up on the hill. If it weren't for low wages, I'd be living there still. Who cares if your markets are free? Look what you've done, my wife and me. Who cares if your markets are free? Thank you. Thanks, Steve. A little homage to Woody Guthrie in there. The first time I heard any part of this song, David Crosby sang one line of it between the last two cuts of the first Crosby, Stills and Nash record. I think it was 1969. And I thought it was the coolest lyric on the record. It's like, where's that song? And I listened to it over and over again, just dropping the needle, just hearing him sing this one unaccompanied line. It was just the most beautiful thing. And about 6 years later, all of it spent playing old-time music, fiddle and banjo. A friend came by and said, you like guitar music too, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, well, listen to this. And dropped the needle on the first Robert Johnson record I ever heard. And I sat on the floor like a ton of bricks and just watched the needle go around and listened to this amazing performer. And then turned the record over, and halfway through the second side, there was that song. Crosby sang, you better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining outdoors. The woman I love took from my best friend. Some joker got lucky, stole her back again. You better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining outdoors. Well, she's gone. I know she won't come back. I've taken her last nickel out of her nation's sack. You better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be outdoors. When a woman gets in trouble, everybody throws her down. Looking for a good friend, one can't be found. You better come on my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining outdoors. Wintertime is coming. It's gonna be snow. You can't make the winter, babe, just dry along, so you better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining outdoors. Can't you hear that wind outside? Listen to that wind howl now. You better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be outdoors. One more, take a break. Thank you. That's right. Thank you. So one more song, we'll take a break. There's refreshments to be had. You can get up and stretch your legs. Change seats if you want to, you know. And my lovely wife Barb will be over here at the CD table to flog our wares to you. We are at Crossroads again in this country. And this is Robert Johnson's recording from 1937. When Johnson was born in 1911, there had been in place in Mississippi for nearly a century a sundown curfew on blacks. So if the sun went down and you were not in hiding or home, if you're out on the roads trying to get home from visiting a sick elder or out listening to music, as we are tonight, you could be in a lot of trouble with the white authorities, the Klan, the what landowners, the sheriff. You know, they're all interchangeable people anyway. You would be told, you know, Scott, come on, you know you're not supposed to be out here. Get home. I can't be responsible for what happens to you if someone else finds you. You're breaking the curfew. And people went home through the woods. They didn't walk on the roads. And there's still towns, in North Georgia and Western North Carolina, that black families know of as sundown towns. Today, where if you go up there, your mother or your grandmother are going to say, you're going to be home before dark, right? So they're not law anymore, but they're also kind of not off our books. So there was danger at the Crossroads, of course. It wasn't supernatural. It was a white man, usually a white Christian man, with violence in his heart. And here's to the end of those days. I went to the crossroads. I fell down on my knees. I went to the crossroads. I fell down on my knees. Ask the Lord above for mercy on a poor boy, if you please. Well, down at the crossroads, I tried to flag a ride. Standing at the crossroads, I tried to flag a ride. Yeah, nobody seemed to know me. Everybody passed me by. Well, the sun's going down, child. Oh, that dark gonna catch me here. Well, the sun's going down, child. Oh, that dark gonna catch me here. kind, sweet woman who loves and feels my care. Crossroads, baby. I believe I'm sinking down. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. See you after the break.
By the way, I'm Joy Bennett. I'm the executive director of Old Songs, and thank you. I always forget to do that, so yes, dear. Thank you. Is this better? Okay. I thought I was loud enough to be heard. So, anyone here for the first time? Yay! Well, we hope you come back again. 3 more concerts for the rest of this part of the season, and then we have lots of great things coming up in the spring. But next week, on Friday night, James Keelahan, great songwriter, great singer, be here. And then Kungero, which is a Swedish quartet with fabulous harmonies. You're going to love them. All women, here on, good if I could read this, December 1st. And then December 8th is our winter solstice concert with Winborn, who is a quartet. A lot of you know them. They've been at the festival a bunch of times. They've been here, and they will be here on December 8th. So that will close out our season, and we hope to see you at all of those. We understand that parking is kind of crazy right now, so if you're coming again, you can use the village lot. You can use the town lot, which is behind the not VFW, American Legion, that's the one. And you can use the street, even though it says the street is closed, that's just for through traffic. So feel free to use any parking spaces on the street. And if you're going down, let's see, that's Main Street. If you're going that way down Main Street, there's a storefront that's empty. It used to be Phillips Hardware, and we can use the lot that's right there. So that's another place to park. So for all of you that are trying to find spots, those are some of them. For those of you who are streamers, if you're streaming at home, welcome, and we hope you're having a great time. There are about 30 some odd of you out there, and we're glad to have the streamers as well as people in seats, which is great as well. So be here, and I'm going to now shut up and let Scott take the stage. And isn't he great?
"30 streamers." What ran through my mind was streakers, and I thought I missed it somehow. I mean, yeah. So welcome. I've got a suspicion we have some friends, old friends out there tonight in other parts of the country, and I'm grateful. This is a song I wrote. It's on Thunder's Mouth. I wrote it as a love song, a lost love. Of course, love songs are more interesting if the lover is gone. Happy love songs are not that interesting, really. So, I set it in New Orleans in South Louisiana, where I've spent a lot of time and have a lot of friends. And I sang it first on the 4th of July in 2005 at a music festival in Maryland. And the song went well. I'm happy with it. And 7 weeks later, Katrina rolled through and scraped the Gulf Coast clean and destroyed New Orleans as well. And without changing a word, instead of being a song about losing somebody, it became a song about losing a city. And for my money, one of the coolest cities in the world. I mean, it's falling down and it's dangerous, but my God, New Orleans is a wonderful town. We've had a lot of other losses to lots of other causes in the last 18 years, so this is for them. You're down at Evangeline, wearing one of your pretty things. Never forget how you looked that day, your eyes so bright as you walked my way. But I've been lonely, I've been blue, feel feeling lost since I lost you, and the wind's picking up on Lake Pontchartrain. Any fool could see it's gonna rain. We're gonna rain. Oh, yeah, gonna rain. The sun's peeking in underneath the blinds. What makes you think you're welcome here? Go find yourself someplace else to shine. I gotta get out of here. There's beer bottles and broken Mardi Gras beads laying up between parked cars. Got me a cold morning here in New Orleans, and no good idea where you are. Oh, it's gonna rain. Yeah, gonna rain. Oh, yeah, gonna rain. And last night from the vast cold vacuum of space, by the light of that moon, I swear I could see your face. Half lit neath the cypress trees, where the cottonwoods are whisper in the evening breeze. I know you've gone, I know we've changed, but I still get this feeling when I can smell the rain. I never come down here to Bourbon Street. Nobody in this crowd that I care to meet, but I'll have one little whiskey in your name as they run for the doorways and it starts to rain. It's gonna rain. Yeah, gonna rain. Oh, we're gonna rain. Oh, it's gonna rain. Yeah, gonna rain. Thank you. This is a song I wrote probably about the same time. Tom Chapin was doing, an old friend, doing a record of children's songs from around the world. What will the didgeridoo do? And you know, he had all these little instruments and sounds from different cultures, and he's sort of putting this record together. And while he was doing it, Robert McNamara published a fairly thin, self-serving apology for the Vietnam War, which meant that those of us who were in the Pentagon parking lot were right. And I said, Tom, you should do a song about Vietnam. We were on the phone. I could hear his mouth fall open. You know, you can hear somebody smile on the phone. You can also hear when they're aghast. And he said, it's a kid's record. I said, yeah, but we could write it from a kid's point of view. I mean, it's like, we know the war was wrong. We can reflect on this. He said, political songs are really hard to write. I said, no, not a political song. A healing song, a song of healing, of looking back on the war. And he said, tell you what, you write it and send it to me. And he basically hung up on me. Now, we're friends. I took it in the right spirit. But I spent about a month writing this song, and then I recorded a version of it and sent it to him, praying that he wouldn't record it. Because I wanted first crack at it. And he called me up and he said, Scott. I said, yeah, did you get the song? He says, yeah, I can't use this song. I said, great. You can also hear when someone is somewhat chagrined on the phone. And he said, but don't underestimate this song. And the other thing he said to me was, You need to write about things you care about, you care deeply about. Don't just fill up the world with songs because they're yours. Write about things that you care about. And I've been trying to do that ever since. So this is Rice Grows Again in Vietnam. Sorry, we're going to start again. A family working in the sun. Food must be grown for everyone. So green, new life has begun. Rice grows again in Vietnam. Our fathers met here long ago, and with their blood these fields were sown. So silent now where many fell, so many stories they can't tell. Receive the weak, receive the strong, and prayers of ours for those who've gone. Forgive me for the wrongs I've done. Give me the strength to carry on. There will be days when rain will fall upon these fields, upon the wall. But may the harvest of these tears bring peace to our remaining years. Lift up your tools, lay down your gun. Once peace is lost, nothing is won. Harvest 1,000 grains from one. Rice grows again in Vietnam. Upon these fields, upon the wall. But may the harvest of these tears bring peace to our remaining years. And though the war's pain is not gone, rice grows again in Vietnam. Thanks. Veterans Day is upon us. And we're happy to send people to war, but we don't take very good care of them when they get home. This is a song I wrote in 2008 when Russian tanks rolled across the European border into Georgia. And that night, I was just so mad about it, I started writing this song. And it's kind of a sneaky tune, as you'll find out. That doesn't sound like a protest song. Last night, rich and powerful man set the dogs loose on our throats again. Break out the flags, strike up the band. The money, you know it is. Somebody pulls the trigger and somebody gets rich. But there ain't a thing in this whole wide world worth the life of one boy, the life of one girl. That's something that money can't buy. No use crying over a little spilled milk. When someone makes a killing, somebody gets killed. There'll be no cross by the side of the road. No photograph, no plastic rose. But what I wouldn't give for a kiss on the cheek, the touch of your hand, my knees get weak. That's something that money can't buy. Late last night, rich and powerful man set the dogs loose on our throats again. Break out the flags, strike up the band. Now, blues, you'll notice, is a music of advice. before self-help books, long before Oprah or Dr. Phil, we had the blues. And the blues singer would outline usually something going wrong in his personal relationships, however flimsy they might have been, and seize on the one thing you know in your heart will make it worse and ride it into the mountain. I mean, this is bad advice, almost universally. And this is another song of blues advice. I don't recommend you take the advice. I'm going down to the river and take a great big jump. Now, there's some good advice. I'm going down to that river. I'm gonna jump. I used to be a wild cat, but this woman made me a chump. Now it sure is funny how hard a man can fall. I said it sure is funny how hard a man can fall. When he gets to thinking that one woman has got it all. You're in trouble now. Well, she threw me out. I went walking down the track. I mean, who needs her anyway? She threw me out. Went walking down the track. But I turned right around, Lord have mercy, begged her to take me back. Here's what I said. I said, she ain't no good, but I can't leave her somehow. She ain't no good, can't leave her somehow. I used to be a wild cat, but this woman has chained me down. Now she don't act sweet, she's that mean and nagging kind. Don't you tell her I said so. No, she don't act sweet, she's that mean and nagging kind. But she's got this little quiver, make a strong man lose his mind. When she walks, she walks. See how much trouble I'm in here? So I'm going down to the river and I swear I'm gonna jump. By the time I get done singing right here tonight, I'm gonna jump. I used to be a wise man, but this woman made me a chump. Yeah. The women laugh and the men look nervous. Lonnie Johnson, 1927 flood of the Mississippi. Everybody who lived through this flood had a song about it. All the performers had songs about the flood. And to put this in context, when the first landing on the southern Mississippi failed on April 4th in 1927, Mound's Landing levee just north of Greenville, Mississippi, within 2 days the river was 70 miles wide and somewhere between 5 and 40 feet deep. And still coming. And when the water finally fell down in the river, it got down below what survived of the levees, and the water that was behind the levees couldn't get back to the river. So for 5 or 6 months, they had boardwalks all over downtown Greenville and trying to use the second floor of the buildings, and they just hung wooden sidewalks off the first floors so people could walk around, paddling boats through town for months and months and months. Of course, they had black press gangs to lay sandbags on the levees to try and save them. And then when the levees failed, a lot of those people just flat out died. But the rest of them were held there at gunpoint, sometimes by Boy Scouts as young as 14 with 22 rifles, while they evacuated whites off the levee. They were afraid if they let the blacks go that they would not come back. And they couldn't rebuild the Mississippi Delta without black labor. So this is Lonnie's song about the press gangs before the levees failed. And he recorded it in September of 1927, just a month after the water had finally gone down in Greenville. And there were newspaper articles in the Deeper South saying that if Lonnie Johnson came south, they were going to lynch him for the last verse of this song. So watch for it when it comes by. I want to go back to Helena, but the high water has got me barred. I want to go back to Helena, but the high water has got me barred. I hate to leave my home, the water's all in my backyard. The water's all up round my windows, backing up in my door. Water's all up round my windows, backing up in my door. I hate to leave my home, but I can't stay here no more. They want me to work on the levees, they're coming to take me down. Work on the levees, they're coming to take me down. I'm afraid that levee may break, oh, and I might drown. Out from Cairo all to Arkansas. Yeah, they ran me out from Cairo all to Arkansas. And they threw me in jail behind these cold iron bars. I said, work, fight or go to jail, but I ain't toting no sacks. I said work, fight or go to jail, but I ain't toting no sacks. Ain't gonna drown me in that river, and I ain't gonna break my back. I was going somewhere I don't want to go quite yet. So now you have to listen to me tune the guitar again. Oh, God. "1963, think about it. 1964. Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind came out. Peter, Paul, and Mary sang it. Sam Cooke heard it. And he thought, if a skinny white guy can write a song like that about, I should be able to write a song like that about me, my people too. But he was making his living singing things like, you send me, whoa, to young white girls, maybe some of you. And he was afraid of tanking his career with a sort of a civil rights anthem, but he wrote it. And then he bet the farm on it. I mean, a symphonic chart, the original recordings, French horns, orchestra. I mean, this is not some track he'd taken a risk on. He bet the farm on this. And was killed about 11 days before it was released as a single. So he had no idea what this song did for us. The verse, of course, that drove him to it was, how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? And how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Sam. I was born by the river in a little tent, and just like that river, baby, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. I've been too long living, and I'm afraid to die. No telling what's waiting up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but change is gonna come. Somebody always telling me, son, best not to hang around. It's been a long, long time. Change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. And I went down to see my brother. Said, brother, help me if you please. And he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there've been times I didn't think I was gonna last this long. Somehow these days just got to carry on. It's been a long, long time, but change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long, long time coming, but change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. I spent about 5 years struggling with the transition that Julia Ward Howe went through between the beginning of the Civil War and 1875, when she wrote the first incredibly militant Mother's Day for Peace declaration. Now, Mother's Day wasn't declared until Woodrow Wilson was president, 1917, I think, but she wrote this diatribe against war. And she had written the marching song for the Union Army. She had written the Battle Hymn of the Republic and set it to the melody of John Brown's Body Lies a Moldering in the Grave, this abolitionist martyr, right? So I was trying to get in her head, and how did she get from there to there? What was that? And it being Veterans Day, I sing these songs anyway, but John Vesner helped me finish this song, great Nashville writer. Kathy Mattea's husband, his claim to fame, actually he's a great songwriter. And in about 2 hours, he turned the corner. He got me around the corner of this song, because I was just trapped in it. And I finished it about 3 months later, and again, brand new song. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. So began the song that sent our boys to war. And from Shiloh to Vicksburg, Manassas to Bull Run, round Union fires my battle hymn was sung. Though they knew the bitter vintage of the grapes of wrath, lightning's terrible swift sword was in their hand. And we find ourselves marching down that old familiar path. Gotta help us, but we're doing it again. Stands idle in the field, the anvil silent by the forge, while elsewhere bullets rain and cannon roar. And taking cover on the ground before a God blind to blue or gray, may peace attend the good earth they embrace. Though they knew the bitter vintage of the grapes of wrath, lightning's terrible swift sword is in their hand. And though we find ourselves marching down that old familiar path, gotta help us, but we're doing it again. Why do we turn our children wild to slay some other mother's child when nothing's ever really reconciled at all? So sing me not of glory, bring me not the flag. These will not bind up my wounds, but let the drums fall silent, the guns rust in the field. Let us mourn the dead and help the living heal. But though we knew the bitter vintage of the grapes of wrath, lightning's terrible swift sword is in our hand. And we find ourselves marching down that old familiar path. Gotta help us. God help us. God help us. We're doing it again. This poor little band member, he's feeling left out. So I've always loved the sound of the kora, the big African gourd harp. It's a beach ball sized gourd, 4-foot neck, 21 strings, incredibly complicated instrument. And when this instrument came in the house, I put in this African banjo tuning that I learned from Sherman Hammonds. God knows how it got there, but there it is. And I thought, boy, that sounds like a kora. That sounds African to me. So I spent a couple of weeks. I've always wanted a kora, but I never got one for the same reason I never tried cocaine. I had friends who liked cocaine, and they lost all their money, their jobs, their wives, their families. Some of them lost their lives. I mean, and I know that if I bought a kora, I'd spend the next 15 years in the basement learning to master this incredibly complicated instrument. In the process, I would lose my wife, my house, all my money. I'd be living in a refrigerator box under a bridge somewhere, further south, I hope. A kora master, but completely loony. And so, no kora in the house. No cocaine, no kora. That's how it is. You got to know your limits, you know. But this had kind of all the raw material of a kora with only 5 strings. And the sound, that woody, warm. So I spent a couple weeks trying to get kora rhythms out of my right hand and came up with this. I thought, yeah, only 3 weeks, not 15 years. And then I took a melody that if I started, you could finish, a stock African-American gospel and blues melody. And I wrote new words to it to see how close we could get that groove, this tuning, and those 2 chords, and a traditional African-American melody. So this is called If Anybody Asks You About Me. If anybody asks you about me, if anybody asks you about me, if anybody asks you about me, tell them I'm traveling on Well, the boss man yelling hurry all the time. Yeah, the boss man yelling hurry all the time. Well, the boss man afraid he'll lose his job. I'm afraid I can't lose mine. So meet me by the willow tree. Yeah, meet me by the willow tree. Well, meet me by the willow tree when the moon is dark, and we'll make our way to a better land. We'll make our way to a better land. We'll make our way to a brighter land where no one will know we've gone. So if anybody asks you about me, if anybody asks you about me, if anybody asks you about me, tell them I'm traveling there's never enough time to play all the music I want to play, but we're closing in, on the end of the set, and I must tell you how grateful I am to have your attention. A little money helps, but the gift of your attention, it's 2 hours of your life you're not going to get back. And I carry that. That's a heavy responsibility for me, so I'm deeply grateful, and I hope I haven't wasted it. I don't mean to beg for applause. I'm not above it, but just... This is one of Stephen Foster's last songs. Foster was born in the Pittsburgh area in western Pennsylvania in the 1820s and died just as the country was heading into the Civil War. A penniless alcoholic singing in bars for drinks and tips in New York City. America's most famous songwriter, his face was engraved on sheet music on every piano in the country, and the publishers made all the money. It's like Spotify was invented in the 19th century. And see how I snuck that in there? Yeah. We know from Foster's song notebooks and letters that are archived in Pittsburgh at the University of Pennsylvania there, that 4 of the songs he wrote as a mature songwriter came from hooks he heard in the black church when he was 4 or 5 years old. Now, what was Stephen Foster doing in a black church at 4 or 5? In a slave church. Well, his family was too poor to own slaves of their own, but they had rich relations, so they borrowed a slave to help keep house. And they could not be bothered to go to church, but they thought that little Stephen should have a grounding in the stories and stuff that go with Christianity. And so they sent him to church with a black maid. They sent him into the heart of the black slave church in western Pennsylvania. When he was 3, 4, 5 years old, he's happily bouncing on some black grandmother's knee and listening. And this is the last of those 4 songs that comes from this early black church experience. He has come to know the suffering he describes and still channel the strength of the black church up into the middle of the song. It's an amazing piece of music. And I have buried family and friends with this. It was out of rotation for a while after my younger brother George died suddenly, and I sang it at his funeral, and I couldn't get it out of my mouth. And a dear friend, Susan, from southern Vermont where we live, came into a show that I was doing there, and she says, "I know you don't like to do requests." And she said, "But is there any chance you could sing Hard Times tonight?" I said, "Susan, it's out of the rotation. I'm sorry." And her face fell. And I thought, damn it, George. Because he would not have me deny Susan or anyone the comfort in this song on his behalf. And so he's been kicking my butt for 10 years. And I sing it, but it's a little bit like crawling over glass. I have 2 songs. I'll sing this one, and then I'm going to do, I'm not going to make you stand up and give me an encore. I'm going to take it, which is the safest thing, really. And then I'll talk to you before you leave. Thanks again for coming. Life's pleasures and count its many tears. Let us all taste the hunger of the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Hard times come again no more. It's a song and the sigh of the hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Hard times come again no more. As we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Oh, their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, hard times come again no more. It's the song and the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Hard times come again no more. It's a song that the wind blows across the troubled wave. It's a cry that heard upon the shore and the words they are whispered beside the lonely grave. When hard times will come again no more. It's a song and the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Hard times come again no more. So many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. Don't get up. It's okay. Yeah. This is a new song, an unrecorded song as well. Those of us who travel and do this close or far, it's a strange life. And there's something sacred about this place to me, and I finally wrote a song about it. So this is about what it is we do together. I love a darkened room. I love the empty stage where I lay my burdens down, and I prepare to play. And when the lights go dark and the crowds all drift away, when we part too soon from friends we make along the way, this is where we come together. At the end of the day, how I love a darkened room, how I love the empty stage. When the lights go dark and the guitars are all put away, when we part too soon, I may not see another day. This is where we come together. close of the day. How I love a darkened room. How I love the empty stage. How I love, how I love, how I love. Thank you so much for coming. It means the world to me. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all for coming. You know, it's funny, Scott mentioned the kora. He'll be a master kora player at Old Songs Festival this year, so I couldn't miss the opportunity to say. Anyway, many hands make light work, and if you wouldn't mind, people on this side, if you could fold your chairs and bring it there, and on the other side, the same thing. Safe home, safe driving, and see you maybe next Friday.